The airport terminal buzzed like a kicked beehive, but nothing stung quite like the Karen sisters' voices slicing through the din. "This is unacceptable," bellowed Marla, her floral dress straining as she leaned over the gate counter, her chins wobbling with righteous fury. Marla and Darla, the infamous HOA Karen sisters, were neighborhood tyrants back home, ruling their cul-de-sac with iron fists and petty fines. Marla, the elder, had a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp, her beady eyes narrowing at anyone who dared park a car an inch over their driveway line. Darla, younger but no less venomous, wore her entitlement like her garish pink tracksuit, loud, unmissable, and utterly shameless. They'd spent years perfecting their craft, berating landscapers, shaming kids for chalk drawings, and once, memorably, calling the cops on a barbecue for excessive smoke. Now, stranded at Gate 17 of JFK's Terminal 4, their reign of terror was about to crash into a delay they couldn't bully away. The trouble started when Flight 842 to Miami was delayed first by an hour, then 2, then indefinitely. A mechanical issue, the gate agent explained, her voice trembling under the weight of 100 impatient glares. Most passengers grumbled, scrolled their phones, or shuffled to the coffee shop. Not the Karen sisters. To them, a delay wasn't a logistical hiccup. It was a personal assault, a cosmic conspiracy to ruin their carefully planned cruise vacation. Marla's voice, sharp as a cracked wine glass, rose above the crowd. "Do you know who we are? We're Platinum members. You can't treat us like cattle." The gate agent, a young woman named Priya, barely out of her 20s, stood her ground behind the counter. Her navy blazer was crisp, but her eyes betrayed exhaustion. She'd dealt with irate passengers before, but the Karen sisters were a Category 5 hurricane. Darla, her tracksuit glowing like a neon warning sign, leaned in close, her breath hot with coffee and indignation. "You're incompetent. Get us on a plane now, or I'll have your job." A fleck of spit landed on Priya's name tag, and the crowd gasped softly, sensing the storm escalating. Priya's hands shook as she typed, trying to find a solution. "Ma'am, I'm doing everything I can. The next available flight is tomorrow morning, and I can offer you a hotel voucher." "Tomorrow," Marla screeched, her voice hitting a pitch that made nearby babies wail. "We're not sleeping in some roach-infested motel. You're deliberately sabotaging us." She slammed her purse on the counter, a knockoff Louis Vuitton that rattled with loose change and entitlement. Darla, not to be outdone, pointed a manicured talon at Priya. "You're discriminating against us because we're women of stature. I'm filing a complaint with corporate." The terminal was now a theater, and the Karen sisters were the stars of their own unhinged drama. A middle-aged man in a suit, waiting for the same flight, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his briefcase clutched like a shield. He'd seen the sisters earlier, complaining about the lack of gluten-free options at the airport Starbucks, and now he watched, half horrified, half mesmerized, as they unraveled. Other passengers whispered, phones discreetly raised to capture the meltdown. The sisters didn't notice. They were too busy performing. Priya, trained to de-escalate, tried again. "Ladies, I understand your frustration. Let me check for any standby options on other carriers." "Don't you ladies us," Darla snapped, her jowls quivering. "You're nothing but a glorified ticket puncher. Get me your manager." The word manager was her magic spell, the one she'd used to terrorize waiters, cashiers, and anyone who dared cross her. Back home, it worked like a charm. Here, it was about to backfire. The manager, a wiry man named Mr. Torres, appeared, his face a mask of practiced calm. He'd seen Karens before. Heck, he'd written the company handbook on handling them. "Ladies, how can I assist?" he asked, his voice smooth as polished steel. Marla didn't miss a beat. "Your employee is useless. We demand a private jet to Miami, right now, or we'll sue this airline into oblivion." Her threat hung in the air, absurd yet menacing. Darla nodded vigorously, her tracksuit rustling like a warning rattle. The crowd murmured, some stifling laughs, others shaking their heads. The man in the suit muttered, "Good luck with that," under his breath, earning a glare from Darla. Mr. Torres didn't flinch. I'm sorry, but a private jet isn't an option. We're offering compensation and accommodations per our policy." His tone was firm, unyielding. The sisters didn't expect resistance. They were used to steamrolling everyone, neighbors, store clerks, even their own HOA board. But this was JFK, not their suburban fiefdom. "You think you can dismiss us?" Marla roared, her face redder than the exit signs. She grabbed a stack of boarding passes from the counter, other passengers' documents, and flung them into the air. Papers fluttered like startled birds, and Priya gasped, scrambling to gather them. "That's what we think of your policy." Marla spat. That was the line. The crowd's murmurs turned to boos. The man in the suit stood, his voice cutting through. "Hey, that's enough. You're making it worse for everyone." His courage was quiet but firm, a spark in the tense air. A few passengers clapped, emboldened. The sisters, unaccustomed to push back, froze for a split second, their eyes darting like cornered animals. Darla recovered first, turning her wrath on the man. "Mind your own business, suit. You're probably in on this scam." But her voice cracked, betraying a flicker of doubt. The crowd was no longer a passive audience. It was a jury, and the verdict was turning against them. Mr. Torres signaled to security, who were already approaching, drawn by the commotion. Two officers, broad-shouldered and stone-faced, stepped into the fray. "Ma'am, step back from the counter," one said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Marla, undeterred, jabbed a finger at him. "Don't touch me. I know my rights." But Darla, sensing the tide turning, made a fatal mistake. In a fit of rage, she shoved Priya's computer monitor, sending it crashing to the floor. The terminal erupted gasps, shouts, and a child's cry. Priya stumbled back, unharmed but shaken. The officers moved swiftly, one grabbing Marla's arm, the other restraining Darla, who flailed like a toddler in a tantrum. "You can't arrest us. We're victims," Darla wailed, but the cuffs clicked shut. The crowd cheered, a raw, cathartic release. The man in the suit shook his head, muttering, "About time." Priya, still trembling, was escorted to a break room by a colleague, her eyes wet with relief. The sisters, now handcuffed and red-faced, were marched through the terminal, their shouts fading into pathetic whimpers. Phones recorded every step, their meltdown destined for viral infamy. As the sisters were led away, the terminal slowly returned to its usual chaos. Mr. Torres addressed the crowd, promising updates on the flight. The man in the suit approached him, offering a quiet nod. "Thanks for handling that. People like them, they think they own the world." Mr. Torres smiled faintly. "They don't. Not here." Hours later, in a holding cell, Marla and Darla sat in silence, their bravado gone. Marla stared at the floor, her floral dress wrinkled, her dreams of a cruise replaced by a court date. Darla, her tracksuit now absurdly out of place, muttered about lawsuits, but her heart wasn't in it. They'd bullied their way through life, believing their wealth and status made them untouchable. But the world had finally pushed back, and it hurt. Back at the gate, Priya returned to her post, steadied by a cup of tea and the crowd's unexpected kindness. A woman handed her a handwritten note. "You're stronger than they are." The man in the suit offered a small smile before boarding his rescheduled flight. The terminal hummed on, a microcosm of humanity, flawed, messy, but capable of justice. The Karen sisters' reign was over, undone not by their own power but by the quiet strength of those they underestimated. Their story, captured in grainy phone videos, would live on as a warning. Entitlement has a price, and karma doesn't delay like a flight. The end.